The immigration officer stretched out his hand. "Miss, may I see your passport again?" Chioma's fingers tightened around the armrest as she slowly handed it over. Her heart pounded loudly in her chest. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She was supposed to land in London. Kelvin was supposed to be waiting for her with flowers. Instead, she was sitting in a small airport office in Casablanca after her flight had suddenly been diverted. The officer flipped through the passport again and studied her face carefully. "Wait here," he said. As he walked away, Chioma felt her stomach twist. Something was wrong. Very wrong. 2 weeks earlier, life had looked completely different. Ada burst into the living room waving her phone excitedly. "It's approved," she shouted. Their mother dropped the spoon she was holding. "Approved? Truly?" "My visa." Ada cried happily. "I'm traveling to London next month." The room filled with excitement as Ada laughed and hugged their mother. But Chioma stood quietly in the corner, forcing herself to smile. "That's wonderful," she said. But inside, jealousy burned. Ada had always been the lucky one. Better grades. Better opportunities. And now, a wealthy fiancé abroad. Kelvin called Ada almost every night. "Are you packed yet?" he asked during one video call. Ada laughed. "Almost. I can't wait to see you." Chioma listened from the hallway, her chest tightening. Later that night, Ada carefully placed her passport and visa documents inside a brown envelope. "Don't touch this," Ada joked to Chioma. "This is my destiny." Chioma forced a small laugh. Destiny. That word stayed in her mind long after everyone had gone to sleep. 3 days before the flight, Ada traveled to Abuja for a medical checkup. The moment her taxi disappeared down the street, the house fell silent. Chioma stood outside Ada's bedroom door for several minutes. "This is crazy," she whispered to herself. But something inside her pushed the door open. She searched the wardrobe until she found it. The brown envelope. Her hands trembled as she pulled out the passport. Ada's photo stared back at her. Same height. Similar face. Maybe, just maybe, she could pass. Chioma stared at herself in the mirror. "I deserve a better life too," she whispered. That night, while everyone slept, Chioma packed a suitcase. Before dawn, she quietly left the house. At the airport, every step toward immigration felt like walking toward danger. The officer looked at the passport. Then at her face. Then back at the passport. "Purpose of travel?" he asked. "Marriage," Chioma answered. The officer typed something into his computer. Seconds felt like hours. Then suddenly, Chioma nearly collapsed with relief. She texted Kelvin using Ada's phone. "I'm boarding now." When the plane took off, Chioma smiled to herself. She had done it. She had taken Ada's place. But halfway through the journey, the captain's voice echoed through the cabin. "Ladies and gentlemen, due to severe weather conditions in London, we are diverting to Casablanca." Confused murmurs filled the plane. Chioma frowned. "Diverting? It's temporary," she told herself. But once they landed, passengers were asked to disembark for document checks. Now she sat in the airport office as the immigration officer returned. This time, he wasn't alone. Another officer placed a tablet on the table. A familiar face appeared on the screen. Kelvin. His expression was serious. "Ask her to look at the camera," he told the officers. Chioma hesitated but slowly lifted her head. Kelvin stared at her for several seconds. Then he spoke. "Ask her what restaurant we went to when I proposed." Chioma froze. The officer looked at her. "Answer the question." Her mind raced. I don't remember." Kelvin leaned closer to the camera. "That's because you're not Ada." The room fell silent. Chioma's chest tightened. "You stole her documents," Kelvin said coldly. "No." Chioma blurted out. "She gave them to me." Kelvin's eyes hardened. "Why would you do this to your own sister?" Tears filled Chioma's eyes. "Because she always gets everything," she shouted. The words slipped out before she could stop them. "She gets the love, the opportunities, even you." Chioma cried. "What about me?" Kelvin looked disappointed. "You thought this was a competition?" he asked quietly. "You would never have chosen me." Chioma said. "You're right," Kelvin replied calmly. That silence hurt more than anger. Meanwhile, back in Nigeria, Ada stared at her empty wardrobe. Her passport was gone. Her suitcase was gone. And so was Chioma. Her phone rang. It was Kelvin. "Ada," he said carefully. "Why are you texting me from another number?" Ada's voice trembled. I'm still in Nigeria. Kelvin went silent. Chioma took my visa, Ada whispered. Back in Casablanca, the officer placed a form in front of Chioma. You have two options, he said. Detention for identity fraud, or immediate deportation to Nigeria. Chioma stared at the paper. Her dream of starting a wealthy life abroad had collapsed in a single day. I'll go home, she whispered. When her plane landed in Nigeria, shame weighed heavily on her shoulders. She walked into the house slowly. Their mother stood up immediately. Chioma, what have you done? Chioma dropped her suitcase and fell to her knees. I'm sorry, she sobbed. Ada stared at her in disbelief. Why would you do this to me? She asked quietly. Chioma looked up, crying uncontrollably. Because I was tired of feeling invisible. You think stealing my life would fix that? Ada asked. I thought if I married him, I would finally matter, Chioma whispered. Days passed. The story spread among relatives and neighbors. Kelvin called Ada again. I'm postponing the wedding, he said. Ada's heart sank. For how long? Until things settle, he replied. Trust takes time to rebuild. Weeks later, Kelvin traveled to Nigeria. He sat with the family in their living room. Call Chioma, he said. When Chioma arrived, she stood quietly with her head lowered. Kelvin looked directly at her. Why did you do it? He asked. Chioma swallowed hard. Because I was jealous, she admitted. I thought if I took her place, I would finally feel chosen. Kelvin nodded slowly. I am not a prize to be stolen, he said firmly. Chioma nodded. I know that now. He turned to Ada. I still want to marry you, he said. Tears filled her eyes. But this family must heal first. Months later, Ada received a new passport and visa. This time there was no big celebration. Just quiet gratitude. On the day of her new flight, Chioma accompanied her to the airport. She held Ada's hands tightly. I will never compete with you again, she whispered. Ada smiled softly. We were never meant to compete. As Ada walked toward immigration, she turned back one last time. Chioma stood there watching. Not with jealousy, but with acceptance. Because she finally understood something important. Destiny cannot be stolen. It can only be earned. If this story touched you, please like and subscribe for more stories.